Hello, fellow cyborgs, and welcome to my Victober wrap-up. So I'm going to be talking about the things that I read during the month of October that were Victorian literature. I'm going to get first the two teaser books out of the way because I will be talking about them in separate full reviews later this week. The first one being Villette by Charlotte Bronte, which I gave a peremptory 5-star and I think will be my new favorite Bronte, my new favorite Victorian novel ever, eclipsing Jane Eyre once I reread it. So I will talk about that and what I mean by all of those things in a new video. And Dombey and Son, which has now become my favorite Dickens novel, tying at 4 stars with A Christmas Carol, but this one was certainly a lot more fun to read than A Christmas Carol. So keep your eyes out for this review as well. So apart from those two books, which took a considerable amount of time over October to finish up, I buddy read quite a few short stories and poems with Carolyn from BBC Girl 520, and this was the predominant Victorian reading I did in the first half of the month. We read a story or a poem per day and did that for about 2 weeks. And by the end of those 2 weeks, even though we were reading like one thing a day, like maximum 3 things a day, I was super burnt out on Edgar Allan Poe. I think overall my enjoyment level of the things that I read were probably at a 2-star level, though there were a few things in here that really impressed me. I fell in love with The Raven, which I hadn't previously really understood how freaking awesome it is. It's freaking awesome. I think right now that's my favorite Poe thing ever. I also really enjoyed The Telltale Heart, how simple it was and how its pacing was just spot on. So the main thing I had issues with Edgar Allan Poe was the pacing of his short stories. It reminded me a lot of Karen Russell's St. Lucy's Home for Girls Raised by Wolves. My big complaint in that collection and my big complaint in here is that the stories end at the climax and you get no resolution, no wrap-up, no nothing after that. That's not, in my opinion, a complete story. That's a story that just stops at the exciting part, and I'm not here for that. I was also fairly unimpressed with some of his more famous stories, like The Fall of the House of Usher and The Pit and the Pendulum. The Pit and the Pendulum especially had these really lengthy passages where the person who is in the pit with the pendulum is trying to blindly figure out the exact shape and dimensions of this cell he's in. So instead of focusing on the horror elements of the situation, Poe seemed like he was trying to be clever in solving the mystery of what exactly my cell looks like. That really disappointed me because there could have been so much creepy atmosphere built up, but instead he just wanted to be clever. There was also another story called Descent into the Maelstrom, which had to do with this huge whirlpool that comes out of nowhere and sucks you in. And at the moment where our main character, spoilers, but it's just a short story, so at the moment that our main character is in the whirlpool, seeing that he's going to be pulled down to his death, he suddenly realizes the physics of the whirlpool, and he is noticing in a hyper-rational sense that certain things are descending more slowly than some of the other things, and then so it just turned into this algebraic, mathematical, reason-heavy sort of thing instead of playing with the terror of the situation. And for a master or a founder of horror, this is not what I was expecting. Perhaps I would get more out of him if I was studying him in an academic sense, but as far as enjoyment level, I think that the time between when he was writing these stories and when I myself am reading them has really lost a lot of the impact of the stories, at least for the sort of reader that I am. And then later in the month, I buddy read The Turn of the Screw with Acacia Ives for the book buddy-a-thon. And as I said in that wrap-up, she and I were both very disappointed by this. I think she gave this 1 star and hated it. I gave it 2 stars because I didn't despise it as much as some of the other 1 stars that I have read recently. This is about a unnamed governess who comes to live in a house where there are 2 children there, and then creepy ghost visitations start happening, and then this story devolves into, in essence, women's hysteria. And that's the main thing that Acacia picked up on way more than I did as far as how problematic this story is. This really looks down upon women and mental illness, that women can't be believable because if they're raving about something supernatural, it's just lady hysterical balls and you really shouldn't pay them any mind. That woman must just have something wrong with her mentally, so you really shouldn't listen to her for any sort of truth, but you should certainly be wary of her because she could end up doing awful, horrible, murdery things. So in essence, this book was pretty much just anti-women, anti-mental illness, and that's not okay. On a less deep meaning level, I found the language in this to be so difficult. At the time, I was also reading Edgar Allan Poe, Charles Dickens, and Charlotte Bronte, and by far Henry James was the most difficult read of the month. And I was even listening to the audiobook narrated by Emma Thompson. It was introduced by Richard Armitage as well, because there's like an introduction in here built into the story, and they couldn't even save this novel experience for me. So to sum it up, I'll have to say that I will probably enjoy reading more about Henry James in Colm Toynbee's The Master than I will ever reading anything else written by Henry James. Either this is a poor example of the merits found in his work, or this is a perfect example of his work and I should just stay away from it. So there you go. Here were the 4 Victorian readings that I did this month. We had a 2 stars, a 4, and a 5. So please keep your eyes peeled for the reviews of the 4 and 5 because Victorian literature actually is really enjoyable for me. It just, you have to find the right ones, and these were the right ones. Thank you for watching. Please link down below in the comments section your Victober wrap-up if you did one, or if you don't have a video, I'd love to hear about what you read during Victober and hopefully get some more recommendations out of you. I hope you look forward to the 3 other Victober themed videos that are coming out later this week. I certainly am excited to share those with you and talk about books that I actually enjoyed. Until next time, I hope that you are having a lovely November and are looking forward to my upcoming videos, and that you continue to be lovely. P.S. Thank you, patrons. I appreciate your continued support, and I hope that you are reading some Victorian literature that you are enjoying.